friends, and welcome. As the world continues down its path of isolation and working from home, there is a group of Australians that are doing it tougher than most. Today I want to talk to you about the digital divide that is affecting over 2.5 million Australians. Thanks for joining me. If you like these types of videos, then please consider subscribing, and if you end up enjoying this video in particular, then please tap that like button. It always helps. The digital divide is a subject I hold dear to my heart, as I wrote ridiculous amounts of papers on the topic during my university life. And just like with everything else, I have now zero recollections of the sources, the points I made, and why it's devastating to our community. Well, in fact, I kind of remember why it's devastating. It's not a good thing, that's for sure. The digital divide can be summarized in two parts. First, the digital divide between generations. Those who are born into the digital age, the digital natives, and those who had to learn, aka digital immigrants. The second form is access to technology. No matter where you were born, if you had little to no access to that technology and very low exposure during your adolescence, it will leave you disadvantaged in your adulthood. I remember a few years ago, job adverts had to say that the ability to use Microsoft Word and Excel is a must. Now it is a given, and if you don't know how to use the most basic softwares, you will struggle in the adult world. So access to it at school and university really helps. Today I read that almost 30 groups, including the Australian Communications Consumer Action Network, Australian Council of Social Services, Choice, Anglicare and Smith Family, have written to Communications Minister Paul Fletcher warning the country faces an alarming escalation of the digital divide. From my understanding, the Communication Minister Paul Fletcher will be discussing the concerns with ACCAN Chief Executive Teresa Corbyn after receiving this letter. Now, a spokesperson for Mr. Fletcher said, "The issue raised are very much front of mind for the government and NBN Co, and there are active discussions with industry around proposal and initiatives. However, it is too early to say what kind of initiatives may result from these discussions." The digital divide that is now affecting 2.5 million Australians is very similar. The limit or no access to internet limits the person's opportunity to learn, obtain information and focus as part of our digital society. The most recent data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that the aforementioned 2.5 million Australians are not online because of the affordability issues, locations or lack of digital literacy. Those 30 groups are calling on the government to help with low-cost internet access for those who need it most. I don't want to go through the whole letter. I'll leave a link below for you to read it in your own time, but I want to highlight quite a few items for you. It is a lengthy letter, so let's go through it. There are 2.5 million Australians who are not connected to the internet, either because they cannot access it, the lack of ability to engage, or cannot afford it. People on low incomes or living in remote areas are particularly impacted. The COVID-19 virus is having a profound impact on our community and communications, displaying an even more important role than ever in keeping the community connected, facilitating remote working, enabling and delivering the essential services such as telehealth and education, and responding to emergency service, especially in remote areas. We applaud the significant measures taken by the federal government to assist households and individuals through the coronavirus supplement and household support payments. Unfortunately, there are many customers on limited incomes in our community who will remain isolated and struggle in their circumstances due to barriers in accessing communication services and equipment, and the most significant, which is affordability. This is a particular concern for older people and people with disabilities who are reliant on the support and service delivery agencies. On a note, a lot of companies who take care of the elderly and disabled people have had to cut staff. Staff are not able to access certain remedies. They're not able to access the homes of these people to help them due to the limitations. The letter continues. We are also receiving reports that remote and very remote communities, including Indigenous communities, that telecommunication services are now dropping out with increased frequency. As the NBN continues to struggle under the demand, these things will continue to happen. The significant concern will be if emergency calls for evacuating very ill patients and telehealth assistance fails. The connectivity problems for many individuals are additionally exacerbated by the closure of libraries, cutting off those reliant on library public Wi-Fi and desktop computers. Now, this part is probably the most important. The letter asks for the following measures to actually help. It's giving a solution. Work with NBN Co and Minister Corbyn to enable NBN to offer targeted low-cost broadband for households of those eligible for income support payments. fund and work with state and territory governments and the telecommunications industry to offer a relief package of basic telecommunications equipment for households without functional equipment or who require additional equipment to meet the needs of school-aged children. Establish a free telephone service for people with low digital literacy to receive direct technical and skills support. Ensure that people can connect by phone with Service Australia and employment services without charge. Provide support for community service providers facing difficulties transferring to scaling up virtual services. Many providers have limited capacity and having difficulties offering telehealth and or other virtual services to vulnerable clients. Work with the telecommunication industry to add their positive initiatives so far by ensuring all customers, including prepaid customers with expired credit, have ongoing data-free access to important government health information. MyGov and Centrelink websites, educational platforms and services, and employment services, particularly for people who only prepaid mobile services as a way of staying connected. Remember folks, there is a lot of credit check to actually get plans for 2 years, and they're particularly expensive ongoing. They continued. Implementing measures to prevent disconnections until the crisis is over. Noting both Telstra and Optus have put arrangements in place, but this should be an industry-wide response. Implementing industry-wide moratoriums on late fees and penalties for all customers and on debt collector referrals and collections. This is a biggie because there's going to be a lot of debt collection going on very, very soon. Implementing measures to address telecommunications dropouts in remote and very remote communities ends consultations with affected communities. As you may know from my past videos, we have talked a lot about the outages and issues people face on the NBN. And here we have the results. Communities struggling to connect in a crisis. You see, with the COVID-19 pandemic, there are a lot of fundamental needs many people are going without. The first few are basic information needs. The radio and TV hasn't been the best source of information for a long time, and it's not the quickest either, and may not be specific to that person's location or current situation. Then there is a lack of healthcare information, questions that many may have about the current virus, though I understand many of you might think it's obvious, but I would like to point out that if you are watching this video, you have access to a lot of content. You also have a lot of access to information that you consume every day, adding to your knowledge base, continuously building your understanding step by step. For those who are completely disconnected, the flow of information is slower and sometimes only from one source and not able to get the whole picture. And that's the next problem. With access to the internet, you can capture multiple opinions from multiple sources and understand the problem with more information at hand and make your decisions much more educated at a much quicker pace. Now, understanding and knowledge can be captured in many ways, faster or slower. Sure, without access to the internet, at some point the information will reach you, but sometimes you need it fast to make those decisions for your family to be safe. But I also want to bring forward information going the other way. Without access to the online world, people have a hard time functioning in society. For example, when paying bills, dealing with banks, finding a job, and so on. However, with COVID-19, these problems have skyrocketed. You see, while before folks could go without the internet, with a panic like this and not being able to know what's happening, it can only cause stress and worry. The obvious few examples to finish off is on working from home without the internet. Well, it's impossible. That is if you even get to work from home. Ordering food if you are in isolation is difficult. Connecting with others to make sure they are okay can also be stressful. So here we are. During the pandemic, please look after your neighbor who might not have access to the internet. Maybe even share your Wi-Fi password, put that modem or router closer to the side of the wall. I hope you all stay safe out there. I hope that this video makes it out there. A lot more people find out and realize there's a lot of issues happening for those who can't even access the internet. Before, it used to be, well, you can't access the internet, tough luck. Now it's a requirement for a lot of people to be aware of what's happening. They are in information blackout, and I hope people realize what's happening. Friends, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, then tap that like button. If you would like to see more, please consider subscribing and supporting local Aussie content. And it would really help if you were to share this news with others. Hopefully we can get it out there. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Bye!